this working? Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I am so happy that you could join me today. It's been a while since my last video went out, and that was really intentional because I ended up taking a break from my healing journey to move across the country. In today's video, I thought it would be helpful to fully update you guys on where I am at with healing my IBS, why I took a break from my healing journey, what have I been up to for the past 9 months, and what steps am I going to take to try to rid of my IBS once and for all. It has been about 9 months since my last video, and that is because I've taken the time to move across the country. Since we last spoke, I was living in Brazil for about 5 months. Since then, I've been a bit all over the place. Back home in Texas, now I'm living in Charlotte, North Carolina, and my healing journey has been stalled for quite some time. If you're new here, my name is Jess, and I have been dealing with chronic IBS and digestive issues for the past 4 years. And over the last 2 years, I have been working with a naturopathic doctor to find the root cause of all of my chronic digestive issues and hormonal imbalances. And I have been sharing everything I've been learning about my journey with you guys too. We cover everything about my own healing journey, what has caused and triggered my IBS, how to overcome certain symptoms like chronic constipation, bloating, nausea, and there's a lot more that I want to share with you guys, especially lessons over the past 9 months that I've learned. And I thought it would be helpful today to go into why I took a break from my healing journey and how you can determine when is the right time to start for you. So let's get into it. Since we last spoke, I was actually living in Brazil with my partner. We decided to move there from New York City to live with his family on a ranch just outside of Sao Paulo. So I was there for the past 5 months, and it was such an enlightening journey. Not only did I feel like I was improving a lot within my gut health, but mentally and emotionally, I just felt more abundant. And it was quite a shock to my body to be living on this ranch for 5 months to then moving back home to Texas. Whenever I came back home, I had the intention of moving to a new city and pretty much starting over again. My boyfriend and I, we decided to move to Charlotte, North Carolina, and originally we were going to move back in August, a few weeks after we came back home to Brazil, but it didn't happen as we planned. And I had a really hard time with that at first. I ended up living at home with my parents again for way longer than I originally wanted. I really struggled with the idea of being back home, especially whenever I was so independent after college. I moved to the city, I was living on my own, I was in Brazil independently with my partner too. So just the idea of returning back home and living under my parents' roof again, it was really difficult for me to grasp. In so many ways, I felt like I was taking a step backwards. I realized during that time that I would never be gifted that time again with my family. And so even though it was difficult, like I didn't have my own space, I didn't even have my clothes with me. I only had like 2 suitcases with me that I packed for Brazil. I had to remind myself every day that not everybody is fortunate enough to be able to return to a safe and loving home. And so I really did try to take that time to just appreciate being around my family. Again, that doesn't mean it wasn't difficult at times. And I think the most difficult thing was that I just didn't feel in control of my health. If you know me, if you know what I'm trying to do with this channel, is I was trying to be very active with my gut health, focusing on the diet I ate, the supplements I took, the lifestyle I had, and also working with a naturopathic doctor. And when I was back home in Texas, I stopped taking all of my supplements. I stopped seeing the naturopathic doctor I was working with, and then I started to eat all of my trigger foods again, including gluten, dairy, soy, and corn, which I'd given up for the past 1.5 years. I didn't have the same access to resources that I did up in New York or even in Brazil. Couldn't really do anything. Even the food I was eating, yes, I was going out and buying my own groceries and cooking my own meal, but you know, whenever it's not your space anymore, I just didn't feel like I had that control. And I want to talk about how that's impacted my IBS and what I am doing next on my healing journey. I think a big thing whenever you want to focus on your health or want to start your healing journey because you've been experiencing chronic or debilitating symptoms is that it is always on your mind. So whenever I was back home in Texas and I was in the States again, and I knew I could have access to certain doctors and healthcare, it was constantly on my mind of like, what am I doing wrong? Is it the food that I'm eating? Why am I not feeling good? What doctor should I see? And it is just this cyclical thing that it almost feels impossible to get out of, especially whenever you're someone like me, and I know I'm not alone in this. You go and see doctor after doctor, you get test after test, and you don't really get the answers that you need. I decided that I was just going to stop all of my supplements, stop worrying about the diet I was on, and just focus on being present in the moment. I think a big reason why I decided to do this is because for the longest time, I would just have this cycle. I was almost spiraling out of control with how much I wanted to control what was happening in my life. Taking a pause for 9 months really benefited me mentally. The positive was I couldn't overly obsess with my health. And I realized that was such a beautiful part of being in Brazil too, because while I did feel like I was a bit more independent than whenever I was living back at home, I still wasn't entirely independent. I was in such a new country with a foreign language and culture, and so I really did have to immerse myself in the beauty of just being remote. That and the lack of stress I was experiencing really helped to improve my overall health. I also really think that the food was so much better, and I did notice a huge difference between eating gluten and dairy in Brazil versus eating it in Texas. And that is something we can't control, especially with where we live. We can't just up and move anytime we want. But I do think that it had a really big impact on how I was feeling in Brazil versus being back in the States. I really did try to bring the learnings I had from Brazil to Texas, trying to be more mindful, slower pace in the morning, have a sense of relaxation and less stress, and even the way I expanded my diet to include more beans and rice and lots of fruits. And so I tried to bring some of those learnings to my life in Texas. It seemed like no matter what I did, my overall health was getting progressively worse. For example, in Brazil, I was actually able to go to the bathroom every day, but in Texas, no matter what I tried to do, I was getting a lot more constipated. My acne was really flaring up. I was getting way more bloated. I just lacked energy and motivation. And at that point, I'm like, should I have just stayed in Brazil longer? Like, why did I even bother coming back home? And so when it seemed like everything stayed the same, but my location changed, it was really frustrating to me. But while I was back home in Texas, I didn't want to stress and worry and go back into that spiral of like, I need to be better, I can do more, I can be in control. And so I just kind of let it be. I just bought bigger pant sizes. I went to a dermatologist. I actually tried to get on spirulactin because my acne was so bad. It was making me so sad. Hated it. That can be a story for a different time. Just kept eating what I was, but of course trying not to overindulge in super sweet foods or high carb foods because I know that really upsets my stomach. Trying to do everything I could to make myself feel a little bit more comfortable, even though I knew my symptoms were getting worse. As I mentioned, it was really relieving not to be so hyper fixated on something. After a while, I noticed that I stopped feeling in tune with my body. I got to a point where I was extremely fatigued again, had a lot of brain fog, was constipated, bloated, nauseous. I realized that I was in a place a year ago before even moving to Brazil where I felt so close to healing and getting to the root of my problems. I was really excited to start up this channel and start up my blog and share everything with you guys. But whenever I felt so lost in my own, it was really difficult to find the motivations to want to continue sharing with you guys because I wasn't learning or discovering anything myself. I feel like this is such a common theme we see all the time when people start a health journey. Make the decision, okay, I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna start today, I'm gonna figure out what's going on with my gut health. And maybe we change our diet, maybe we add some supplements, maybe we do book that appointment with that functional medicine doctor. But then after a while, we start to lose that momentum and something can come in the way, like for me moving back at home, and just feel like we are thrown off the path. When we try to figure out our way back, we don't feel like we have this sense of direction moving forward, and we can also get lost in the noise of what's happening within the health space, especially the gut health space. And suddenly we feel like we're right where we started. I think a big reason why I decided to do this is because I wanted to make sure it wasn't all in my head. I know that sounds a bit crazy, like of course it's not in your head, but whenever we learn that we have such a strong mind-gut connection, you can sometimes think, is it my IBS symptoms and the nausea and that's why I'm feeling like low and anxious and worried, or is it my anxiety about my gut health and then that's impacting my digestive system, leading to nausea and constipation, etc. For me, I always go back and forth with like, I don't know what came first. So I almost wanted to use the past 9 months as a test to see, am I really feeling this way or is it kind of all in my head? And spoiler, it's definitely not in your head. And if you are having chronic issues, it's time to step up and do something about it. because you don't know what the impacts can be down the line. And so taking care of it right now, for me, I'm 26 years old. You could be in your 20s, your 30s, your 50s, it doesn't matter. If you start today, you're going to be an even better version of yourself in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years from now, and not have to deal with even further diseases that can come. I understood that there was still some outpatient testing that I could do in order to rule everything out. At this point in my life, I already had so many stool tests, I've lost count. I've had the SIBO test with the naturopathic doctor. I've had a colonoscopy with a gastroenterologist, but I hadn't had an endoscopy yet, which looks at the upper part of your small intestine. I knew in order to keep moving forward, I really did need to rule everything out from a medical standpoint. So I went ahead and scheduled an appointment with a gastroenterologist. And I think that gastroenterologist was number 5 or 6 for me. And of course, it came back clear, everything was normal. I had a follow-up with the appointment with a gastroenterologist, and you want to know what their solutions were to my problems? Peppermint oil and laxatives. And that is just no surprise to me at all, because that is the solution every GI doctor gives you. And I've tried those and they don't work for me. Let that be a reminder that that doesn't have to be your final answer. When you see a doctor and they're like, there's nothing we can do, here, take some laxatives, just understand that that is a band-aid solution. And while it make you feel better in the short term, it's doing nothing for you in the long term if you can't go to the bathroom without taking a laxative. You should be able to go to the bathroom on your own. I'll get off my soapbox now. After I had this endoscopy, again, I went through this cycle of just feeling really stuck. I didn't know what to do next. I knew that I needed to find a new naturopathic or functional medicine doctor to work with, but I wasn't in the right environment to do so. I was waiting until I moved so then I could basically get my life started again. I realized that you don't need the perfect environment to start living a healthy life and to start focusing on your gut health. While wellness trends can come in waves, a healthy lifestyle is forever. And there may be moments in your life where things take greater priority. For me, it was being back home, it was being surrounded by family and not compromising that lifestyle I was in, preparing for this cross-country move. But at the bottom line, what we should strive to be is start to become the healthiest version of ourselves. And not in a way that's obsessive or that we're hyper fixated on, but in a way that brings balance and clarity to our life. For me, it's living a life where I can go to the bathroom every day. I'm not bloated after eating. I don't wake up feeling bloated and inflamed, and my acne is cleared up. That's the direction I want to head in. So having that, you'll be able to get there because it's never too late to start your healing journey. Now I'm really excited to make the time again to focus on my gut healing journey, finding a new naturopathic doctor and sharing all of these additional learnings with you guys, because I know it is complicated and confusing out there, but we can work together as a community to figure out what the heck is gut health and how to heal our chronic IBS. Thank you so much for sticking around. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to this channel to follow more content on my healing journey, especially with what it's like to work with a naturopathic doctor. I post on my blog, Healthier Days Ahead, and also my newsletter is coming out from the gut. You can follow me across different socials, Jessica DeBoo on all of them. I'll see you next time. Bye.